All right, welcome everybody to the sixth edition of the Summer Blockbuster Movie Review. My name is Harry Ezel III, aka the Mind of Cube. I am joined by my co-host, Mr. Richard Brown. Richard, go ahead and say hello.
Hello, everybody. What's going on?
All right, and we are here today to discuss Edge of Tomorrow, one of the blockbuster movies that came out in the summer of 2014. Matter of fact, came out on this past Friday. So, Richard, as usual, go ahead and give your synopsis.
All right, I'm gonna be honest with you. I like the movie. Any way I compare this movie, I'm gonna be honest with you, is gonna sound like it's a complete negative because these are all the movies that I thought of. It's just it was well executed. I thought of everything I would say is gonna sound like it's terrible. One is gonna be Groundhog's Day, of course.
What?
Groundhog's Day, 51st Dates, and
What?
if you take that and you add in an element of like Aliens, like the James Cameron Aliens movie, the second one. If you take that and add that in there, it's like that's kind of what you actually get. What I'm saying, think about it. Think about it. Think about the movie.
I've never cut you off in your beginning synopsis until today. I've never cut you off. But I can understand the second Aliens because of the big robot that she was in fighting.
Okay. All right.
I can get that because that looks similar to what they were running around in. What?
Well, all right. I said
first dates.
Okay.
In ground. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Right.
Go ahead.
But think about it. All right. Think about the relationship he had with the main female lead, and think about the mechanic, the general mechanic of the movie. Not saying that it is like Groundhog's Day, but you take elements like the core element of what the movie is about. Like it's just like every day he had to keep meeting this girl and explaining how they met and how they understand each other. And then if you take the element of Groundhog's Day, where it's every day he keeps living over and over and over and over again. That's pretty much what you get. That's the main focus of the movie is that, like they even say in the trailer, live, die, repeat. So it's, but if you add a good sci-fi element to it, I thought it was pretty good. I mean, now it's still not my favorite movie this summer. Captain America still is the movie, but I'd honestly have to say this is my number two. And it's because I thought, at least for me, I thought it was well acted. I thought the script was pretty solid. The emotional tone of the character, because since he knew what was going to happen, he knew that, hey, this is going to take place. It's almost like, it's like if you could live the same day over and over again, you would actually you go from being scared to going crazy, just being cocky with it. Like, yeah, okay. It's like, he was just like, when an alien, one of the mimics is what they called it, one of the mimics would show up, he'd just like be like sitting there, he'd just like point his arm over and start blasting it. So it was those things that it's like the way I haven't really seen Tom Cruise actually act in a movie in a while. So I would say this is probably one of his better roles. The only thing I would say that does, and this is kind of a spoiler, and not like a spoiler, but like every Tom Cruise movie there is a running sequence. There is not a running sequence in this movie. That shocked me. If you think about it, there was not.
Okay, go ahead, continue.
There wasn't a running sequence in this movie because I thought like in the beginning, he was gonna have. I was like, oh, he's about to go run, and it's like I was like, oh, and then I was kind of waiting for it to happen again, and it never did. So that was the only thing in the movie that, like, other than the end, and I will get to that a little bit later, but other than those two things, there was no running sequence, and maybe the way that the ending played out, I would have to say I give the movie solid. It was a solid effort. It was different. It was not. I know it's based off of a manga, but I'd have to say, in all honesty, it was really, really solid. Like I walked out of the theater, and it's one of those things when you walk out and you feel like, okay, I'm pleased with the movie, and then as it kind of sits with you a little bit longer, I liked it a little bit more. It's like when I walked, I was like, okay, that was good, and then you think about it and how they executed it. It's not really the movie itself that was like mind blowing, it was just the way that it was executed. Because if you think about what Groundhog's Day was about, it's basically about a guy reliving the same day over and over again. Well, this movie's the same thing. The only exception is he's got aliens and guns that he's able to play with in the process. So I thought it was good. But I know you have a different take on it, so go on ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I feel as though I'm about to like answer all your questions that I didn't agree with. But like the running sequence did happen when he was on the beach the first time. That was your little expose running sequence. And about the movie and how I felt about it was I thought, like, as I get older, like, mindless action flicks really don't appeal to me anymore.
I can
That's
see
kind
that.
of
Yeah.
hard to believe that coming from a guy, but yeah, mindless action flicks just don't appeal to me more anymore unless they're named The Expendables. But I really do like the character development that was in this film. I felt like that you can really connect with Tom Cruise and the struggle that he was going through, reliving the same day over and over again. And like how you said, being cocky with it. Sometimes he even showed up drunk to the day before he went out to this battle, which I
Yeah.
thought was like why would you be drunk? You're knowing you're going to go fight an alien to die. I don't know why you would be drunk, but anyways, it worked for me. And well written movie, well acted movie. I've never seen anything else that actress Emily Blunt was in. Can you
Right.
think of anything else? I don't.
I can't think of anything right off the top of my head now.
Yeah, there's probably some chick flick out that neither of us have probably seen or got
Right.
dragged to go see it, and would probably pass that on. So it's. I thought she did an excellent job. Nice eye candy to have along in the movie to go well, and the computer graphics in this movie were phenomenal. This movie, outside of Captain America and The Amazing Spider-Man 2, actually made me feel as though I actually got my money's worth when I went to go see it in IMAX 3D. So
I, I
I can
would
finally
I would
go ahead.
agree. I would agree.
Yeah, I can finally justify that cost because I was sitting down, I was talking to the little girl I took with me, and I was just thinking, you know what, this movie, I actually remember it being in 3D. And she was like, well, was X-Men in 3D? And I was just like, I don't know. I know we came to this theater. We went to go see it in the IMAX theater. I don't know if it was in 3D or not. So to me, I felt as though that, yay, they did a good job in making this movie in 3D. And how we said last week with Maleficent, there was only 3 scenes that were
Right.
really memorable in 3D. This one, I lost count because I was going to try to compare it. I just lost count. The
You know,
majority of this movie is well worth the 3D. Go ahead.
I have to say that, man, because when you see the aliens' tentacles and stuff moving around and whatnot,
Oh, that freaked me out. I
yeah,
jumped a couple times.
yeah, that was actually pretty solid. I mean, it was like because when I saw the movie and I saw what the aliens were going to look like, they don't look like anything. But from a mechanic for 3D, it really, really was solid. I mean, I didn't see it in 3D, but you can kind of see where it could actually work. And I would say in this movie, in all the, because it wasn't like it was a mindless action flick all the way through. I mean, there were action set pieces that kind of went through the movie over and over and over again, even though it's the same general scene. But
Mm-hmm.
but they just kind of, it's like they up the ante each time, and then there was a point to where there wasn't an action sequence and things were just happening, and that was it was good.
I'm gonna take you to one scene in the movie, and this isn't a spoiler. It's when he meets the I forgot her name. They called her
Rita
Rita.
Vitowski,
Yeah, yeah.
but
He meets her, and she takes him to go meet that other guy down in that little basement thing, and
yeah,
he pulls up the computer and whatnot. That scene, you're thinking, well, that's not an action sequence, but that scene in 3D was quite amazing. And
really.
yeah, the nuances to the film when they're on the beach and all the sand is coming up, and when he kills one, it like flickers like ash in the wind and whatnot. That was pretty neat watching that
Okay.
in 3D and the bullets flying and the tentacles and everything. So this movie was they spent some money on the special effects. I'll put it to you like that. They spent some money into the special effects. And
I
like,
need to look. I need to look and see what the budget was on this movie because I didn't remember what it
oh,
was.
it's got to be ridiculous. It's got to be ridiculous. It's got to be up there with the Avengers. That's how I'm pretty sure that's how much money they spent to make this movie look as good as it did. Because like we said last week, and I hate trying to compare Maleficent to this movie Edge of Tomorrow, but like I said last week, there was that one scene in Maleficent when they were all walking up the church steps, and I was like, yeah, that's obviously
Right.
right there.
Yeah.
But that in this movie, the close interactions, because it got a PG-13, you didn't see anybody get ripped apart, but you heard it.
Yeah.
And you couldn't tell the difference between where the computer animation started and the real human live actor began.
I see what you're saying.
I
Yeah.
feel as though they did a really good job with that. I'm not trying to troll on the film, but since I'm doing these movie reviews, I'm looking for little things like that, like, ah, ha, ha, you messed that up.
Right.
So I couldn't find that in this movie. So kudos to the editor, kudos to the director, kudos to the writer. Put this movie all together. I thought it was very solid. I'm with you on that boat. Like you said, we're going to spoil the movie later on towards the end. Something happened that had me going, why did you do that?
Yeah.
So, with that being said, let's segue into our spoiler alert. Here comes the disclaimer. If you haven't seen the film, please go ahead and exit, but watch it later because we're getting ready to spoil it and go.
Okay. I'll let you go ahead and go with the scene that you're talking about first, and then I'll
Okay, so
counterbalance on that one.
we're coming down to the very end of the movie where it comes to its dramatic conclusion. Tom Cruise, I'm sorry, he's going in to kill, what is it called again? The Mega Brain, the Alpha?
The Omega.
The Omega, yeah, he's going in to kill the Omega, which is ironic because Omega stands for the end. So he's
Right.
going in to kill the Omega, and he has a handful of grenades, and he blows the Omega up. But pause for a second. So let me explain something. In the movie, when you kill an Alpha and the blood gets on you, that's how he was able to capture their skill or power to reset the day. And Emily Blunt's character explains that she had the same power as well, but she lost it because she was bleeding out on the battlefield but didn't die quick enough. So when they rescued her, they gave her blood, and that's how she lost the power to reset the day.
Right.
So the whole thing is if you're going to die, make sure you die. Don't let anybody rescue you and give you blood. And later on in the movie, of course, Tom Cruise is bleeding out, and they give him blood to survive, and he loses it. And then fast forward, here we are talking about the end again. So he's going in to kill the Omega. He's swimming down. He pulls the pins on the grenade. He throws it down there. It blows it up. Boom, boom, boom. Americans win. Or humanity, I'm sorry. Humanity wins, saves the day. The alien force is stopped. And you see Tom Cruise just floating down, down, and down. And you see him bleeding out. I was happy with that right there being the end. What transpired after that was that you see the blood of the Alpha or the Omega, Alpha and the Omega, I guess, come in contact with Tom Cruise's blood. You see his eyes turn black again because he just regained his power. And I take it back what I said earlier. If that, when you see his eyes turn black and you see that he regained the power, if that would have been the end of the movie, I would have been 100% satisfied with it. If they came out with an Edge of Tomorrow 2, I'll be first in line to go see it. But they had this extra scene where it resets basically the entire movie to its beginning, because whatever you just spent 2 hours watching, let's just say that really didn't happen, and here's the opening scene again with Tom Cruise stepping out of the helicopter, and this time instead of going to go meet the United General of the Armed Forces, they're congratulating on their win in the Western Front. So yeah, I can understand why you want to put that in a movie because in Hollywood they like for happy endings.
Right.
But I kind of liked it leaving it a little opaque at the end where you're really not sure what happened. You're not clear. He came back to life. Did he swim out of the deep end of the pool, I guess, in time to survive, or did he die and did he have to restart the whole day over and try to kill the Omega again? They just gave you a clear point. Hey, this is what happened. And I'm kind of thinking about it now that I'm talking through it. It's kind of like Oblivion, how people really didn't know what happened at the end of Oblivion. That Tom Cruise is like, you know what? We're going to give you something not to think about. This is what happened.
Right. Yeah.
So go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree to a point because I mean, it's like I know why they did it, but see, the question I was wondering is when you see at the very end when they say that the guy that all of a sudden they detected the energy source, is it saying that the Omega like died in all time streams, and that's what happened when according to Tom Cruise's time stream, that it stopped or didn't work anymore? And that's what I was thinking, because when I saw it, I was like, okay, because they said it was like they detected a huge energy source go off in France, and all of a sudden it's gone, and the mimics just died. So I'm thinking that they were basically saying that the mimics were somehow, when Tom Cruise killed it, reset the day back to, I guess, whatever he saw fit. But the Omega didn't exist anymore. So that's what I was thinking. So I mean, it does leave a little bit of open interpretation, but that's how I took it when I saw it. I guess the other thing I had an issue with was him walking up to Emily Blunt's character at the very, 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 very end of the movie, and she didn't know who he was, and then he just kind of smiled, and I was like, oh, okay. I mean, all right.
I hate to interrupt you for the second time, but maybe I'm getting a little bit sensitive in my older age here, but where was the kiss?
Well, the kiss was in the what was it, in the garage? Remember, right before there was that one alpha that was sitting out in the thing, in the sitting out in the what you call it, in the rest of the garage, and Emily
Oh,
Blunt's
okay.
character went. Yeah, it was right before that. That was the only kiss in the entire movie, but it was right before that part, and then you know then everything happened. I guess I kind of agree with you because it was like all of a sudden it's like now you have like this wonderful happy ending, where I think the problem is that we're talking about things resetting. If you think about it, this movie did a reset very similar to how X-Men: Days of Future Past
Oh,
did,
don't say that. Oh, okay, go ahead. I'm
but
sorry.
but it's almost did a reset very similar to how that was treated. The only difference is that we appreciated the fact that they went ahead and retconned 5, 6 movies, but this movie, it's like by retconning the the movie as itself in the story, it's kind of like ah, it's not. I don't want to say it's one of those like oh it's a dream sequence kind of thing, but it's like none of it ever happened or none of it. I guess that was the only thing I guess I had. I don't want to say an issue with, but it was just kind of like, all right, well, yeah, all right. So everybody's happy. Nobody died. At the end of the day, it's really because if you think about it, everybody pretty much died, and once everything reset again, everybody was alive. So it worked. It worked as an ending. I'd probably when I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wind up going back and reading the actual anime, not anime, but the manga, because it sounds like it's pretty much the same concept as a movie, but there are some differences in the way that some of the things played out. So I think I'm gonna go back and read it if I get a chance.
You know, you brought up an interesting point at the very end when he sees Emily Blunt character and he just smiles at her. Now I'm thinking is that you have the advantage. What every guy who likes women wants. You know everything about this woman. You know what to say, how to say it, when to say it, what to do. Like
Right.
we spend our entire lives trying to figure that out, and you've done it. And get this, now that you have the power, if you screw up, you put a bullet in your skull and you can try again.
Yeah. I guess. Like I said, for me, it was good. I enjoyed the movie. The one thing about it, I did find funny about that whole mechanic of them going back and forth through the days is that it wasn't. They did it in a way to where it was almost like it was trial and error because that one part when he like was on the beach and then he like lived for a little bit longer. That he was running down the thing and then a truck came by and got him and then. So it's like those little things that made it seem like it was a trial and error basis. So when he got run over by the truck, I
That
mean,
was hilarious.
yeah, that was like what was he doing? And that you know what? Another reason why I know this is gonna sound like I'm jumping around, but another reason why I was saying that the callback to Aliens is because remember Bill Paxton was in the original Aliens.
He was in the original Aliens, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it was like I don't know if they were trying to do that on purpose, but it kind of worked. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
man.
So let's go ahead and let's get into our rankings, and I'll go first on this one, and I'll explain my ranking before I give it. And this
Okay.
movie, solid script, excellent cinematography, had enough comic relief in the movie to keep you laughing and interested as it goes on, like Richard was talking about with the little certain scenes in there. My only gripe with the film is that it had that one ending that was like, yeah, really. So I'm gonna give this one not as high as Captain America, because like Richard said, that is still our favorite film of the summer. So this one is a definite. Let's give it an A minus. Because I feel as though a B plus is too
Yeah,
low, but
yeah.
it's not really an A type film. So an A minus. An A
Yeah,
minus.
I would agree. I'd have to. I was actually in my Google Keep notes about like how all the different movies that we review, and I'd say I was gonna put this one down as an A minus also. Captain America is clearly overall. I mean, I know it sounds like we're being like Marvel groupies right now, but I mean, Captain America clearly overall, there was nothing I could really complain about it other than the Winter Soldier not being in a movie enough, but I think that made him more threatening. but
Yeah.
but but other than that, man, I have to say it was a well acted movie. Um, I would say I did like this better than Tom Cruise's last sci-fi effort, Oblivion. I liked Oblivion, but it was not. But I think this movie accomplishes more with less. And that's another thing about this movie that surprised me is that the running time on it isn't as long because I got in the theater at 11 o'clock last night, and when I left, it was a little after 1, and that's including previews.
You know
So
what? I'm starting to think that movie companies are listening to the consumers because I remember there used to be like 15 minutes of previews. before the
Yeah.
movie starts. So yeah,
So I don't
they're
know.
starting to listen.
So I don't know if it was. I don't know if it's because there were less previews or the running time of this movie just wasn't as long. But I'd have to say that I got out and I was like, oh, it's only one. It's a little after 1 o'clock. So okay, I can. I'm appreciating this. But we know that the next rest of the couple movies of the summer are probably going to be a little on the longer side. So
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And with that segue, Richard, I would just like to go ahead and say out to the whole world, MTMTE.
okay.
Now, if you don't know what that means, I don't know what to tell you. I really don't. I really don't. But coming up next week, I believe that's what is today, the 8th, so the 15th. I don't think we're going to have a show on the 15th because there's.
Well, you know what, man? I think is it 22 Jump Street comes out next week.
Oh
This week?
yeah. 22 Jump Street does come out next week.
Yeah, 22 Jump Street. I'm not saying I'm not like excited, but I'm not saying I'm worried about that movie, but right now what I'm thinking about it is it going to be, because sequels and comedies to me don't really work that well, because comedies are kind of a circumstance type thing. So with 22 Jump Street, is it going to be like, okay, like The Hangover? Because to me, Hangover after Hangover 1, it was the same movie over again.
Yeah, it was dead. It was
So
dead.
if is this movie going to be the same thing, where it's just going to be, we're going to watch 21 Jump Street, but it's going to be in college instead of in high school this time. So I want to see it, but whether or not I'm like, ooh, I'm going to be first day, you know, yeah, we'll see.
I feel you. I feel you. So you heard it here, for folks. It may happen. It may not happen. Stay tuned. How you usually get your invites, that's how this one will come to you from episode 6. But I read a very interesting tidbit yesterday, Richard. I'm sorry, early this morning today, was that the Transformers Age of Extinction movie is the first movie to be shot in its entirety in digital IMAX 3D cameras.
That's going to be epic.
Let me say that again just in case if y'all didn't hear me. The new Transformers film was shot entirely in IMAX digital 3D cameras. So in other words, Michael Bay is trying to do his own James Cameron.
Yeah.
Because James Cameron's Avatar was shot entirely with 3D cameras, and certain scenes were shot with the IMAX cameras. Because I was like, when I first read it, I was just like, well, wait a minute. Well, wasn't Avatar shot completely in the 3D digital IMAX cameras? And, of course, somebody else is more of a nerd than I am, has already explained that the Avatar movie was shot completely with 3D cameras. However, certain scenes were shot to use a special that nobody else has used IMAX 3D camera. So this one here is a Michael Bay, I don't know if it's exclusive to Michael Bay, digital IMAX 3D cameras, that's a lot to say. They got to come up with an acronym for that.
Yeah.
So they can put that on films. I'm like, boom, instead of putting that on there. That's too much. Michael Bay, if you're listening, you're watching, you heard it from the Mind of Cube. Shorten that up, acronym. So, yeah, this movie is probably the biggest thing ever. And I've already explained that in 3 weeks, if you ask me to do anything other than watch Transformers Age of Extinction, if I slap you in the face, it's your fault. I'm just letting you know right now. I'm being very physical with people that ask me, well, let's go to Bed Bath & Beyond. Oh, I'm about to catch a case.
Yeah, man. That, if, I haven't heard that, but if that is true, man, that's going to be a pretty big deal, because as a movie, if the way that it's shot, that means it's kind of going to be like, what movie was that? The Dark Knight Rises. Was it Dark Knight Rises? Yeah, Dark Knight Rises.
Dark Knight Rises was shot completely in IMAX, yeah.
It was shot completely in IMAX. And whenever you watch movies that were either shot in IMAX or they have that full aspect ratio, like, I'm not saying I hate the letterbox bars because they don't bother me that much, but when you watch, like, The Dark Knight Rises or you watch The Avengers, when they're at that aspect ratio, it totally changes the way it looks on TV. So it's just like the entire screen is taken up instead of you having the black bars under it. So, I mean, I'm trying not to get too excited for this movie because, but it's like every time you keep seeing something, it's more angled on the robot side than it's angled on the human side, which I'm perfectly fine with.
I've scoured the internet to see if I can find some leaked footage of Grimlock or any Dinobot transforming. So
You ain't gonna find it.
yeah, you're
You're not gonna,
100%. I found so many fake videos. I'm just like, oh, come on.
yeah, you're
I
not
can
gonna
tell you
find
did
it.
this on your laptop, but yeah, it's not out there.
Yeah,
So
yeah, ain't gonna find it, man. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
and I want to share something with you.
okay.
And I was in Target, my favorite non-Walmart superstore to go shopping, and they had something on sale for about $4 and some change.
Okay.
And I said, you know what? I should go ahead and buy this because I did like the latest installment that you came out with, and I probably will purchase it when it gets released. So I might as well start the collection now. If I could pick them up in the dollar bin, so be it. But yeah, I bought it.
Oh,
Yeah, it was $4 and some change, and it came with a digital copy. So yeah,
that's actually not bad, man. Because what was it, Black Friday? Black Friday they did the same thing, and I seriously kept thinking about if I was going to buy that movie or not. And I mean, I spent $2 to rent it, and I liked it good enough to where if I spent the extra $2, I wouldn't have been hurt. So I don't know if I'd like watch it again and again and again, but hey, that's the one thing about the digital medium right now is that the need to buy movies on Blu-ray is just slowly but surely declining.
it is.
But the only thing is that if you're an audiophile or videophile like myself, that difference in audio, because I actually watched Thor. Thor was one of the first movies I actually watched on Netflix. Thor and Wall-E were actually some of the first movies I watched on Netflix, and I picked up the Blu-ray for Thor and then watched it again, and I was like, man, but that was years ago, so things have changed a good bit. But even now, we don't have the bandwidth support yet to be able to do, I guess, true like 4K streaming or lossless audio.
I'm so glad that you said that. I've had this argument so many times with people. They ask, like, why do you still buy movies when you can just get it on Netflix or just stream it? I'm just like, you don't understand. I have a surround sound system.
Right.
You're basically, the money that you put into your speakers, it's just going out the window when you stream it. Because like you said, we just don't have the bandwidth yet. The FCC controls that?
Yeah.
If they just open it up, then I wouldn't buy another Blu-ray. But until then, I'm a purist. So they got the picture down, but something has to suffer. It happens to be the audio because most people just don't. They just don't have it. Like, it's still revolutionary when you go to somebody's house and you see a sound bar. You might have one or two friends that has 5.1.
Yeah.
So most people are just using those small, thin speakers on their TV, and they just turn it up and they think it sounds good.
No.
But they don't hear none of the panning. They don't hear nothing of the loud explosions. When the door closes on the right, it's actually on the right. That's what I really enjoy that. And to tell you the truth, when it comes down to playing video games, I get freaked out sometimes when you hear the ricochet of a bullet over your ear, and it's like, wait a minute, what's going on?
Never played Dead Space then. Don't play Dead Space.
Yeah.
I did it one time. Once I got my because I got a Polk TL150 set.
Ooh.
Yeah. When I worked at Best Buy for that 2-month period, I got that on accommodation. Like, thanks, Best Buy, I appreciate that. But yeah, because I bought that and I got a Denon receiver now. Yeah, so I went serious with mine. But man, I played Dead Space one night. It's like you hear stuff in the background that you never like. I didn't hear that before, and stuff will just be running from one side of the room to the other, and you're like, oh, this ain't good. The audio work, but see, like, then that's the thing people forget about movies is that you talk about like Dolby Atmos, that new sound technology that they're doing, and when you have a movie and then you compress it like that and then put it on Netflix, it's not the same movie. It's close, but we have not gotten to a point to where our bandwidth's able to really support that yet. And the other side of that coin, you were talking about the FCC controlling it, but also the ISP is because if you start getting the true lossless audio, man, you're talking about, I think Comcast, I can't remember if Comcast or Time Warner, I think Comcast or AT&T, excuse me, have either a 250 or a 300 gig cap on.
Oh, it's 300.
It's 300 gig cap. So if you could imagine, if you start taking Netflix and putting lossless audio on it, oh man, and you watch a lot of movies, you will eat that up quick.
Yeah, 5 movies and you're done. Because you
Yeah,
gotta think about it. It's like a Blu-ray right now is anywhere from 50 to 80 gigs.
right.
And if the movie fills the entire disc and you stream that across your bandwidth, you're already taking out almost one third
Right.
of your cap space. So I guess Comcast and AT&T are licking their chops like, go ahead, Netflix, because
Yeah,
Netflix is going to start streaming more content in 4K. So I imagine the 4K, even the video on the 4K,
you
is
got to be.
probably got to be around 15, 20 gigs.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how this stuff gonna pan out because like if you look at all the movies that are coming out, a lot of them are visual spectacles. So these content creators are going to be like, hey, well, the best form of our entertainment is going to be either 4K or 1080 whatever. But once they put it out there, Netflix is like, hey, well, that's what the consumer wants. And then of course, it's kind of like the same thing with cell phone companies. We had we used that back. Well, I still have it, but unlimited data with Verizon. The only reason why they charge for it is because they can. It's not because it's like, oh, it's our network. It does not. It's because you can charge for it. That's it. So
Mm,
anyway, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I'm still holding on to that legacy data plan because man,
You know,
I'll kill 20 gigs in a month easy.
my heart suffered. I was in a place where I couldn't I couldn't afford to keep the phone plan that I had, so I had to downgrade. And the person told me, well, if you downgrade, you're going to lose your unlimited data. And I was just like, I can't afford the bill, so
Oh man.
I gotta. I got it, and it
uh,
literally hurt my heart. And then I got a better job. I came up in the world, and then I was like, okay, yeah, let's go get a smartphone. And then when they hit me up with that, and we're offering 2 gigs of data at $49.99, I'm like, 2 gigs of data? I'm
yeah,
like, do
man.
you realize I could burn 2 gigs of data in your store?
Yeah, it's crazy. Because when I called Verizon one day, I know we're going completely off base, but I called Verizon one day and the lady looked at my account and she was like, I was like 3 days into my billing cycle, three, and she was like, oh well, I see that you have unlimited data still. I was like, yes. And she was like, oh, we have that Verizon Max where you get 6 gigs a month, and I said, yeah, look at my bill. She was like, you already went through 10 gigs in 3 days? I said, yeah. I said, I mean, I have my 4G on in my house because it's faster than my Wi-Fi, just cause. It don't make a difference to me. So, I'll like be streaming Chromecast and stuff, and then I'll like get Netflix and have it streamed to my phone, and I said, hey, well, whatever. So Verizon's been trying to get me off unlimited data. So it is what it is, though, man. Hey, they say it's unlimited. I abuse it. The only person I've seen who's done more than me in a month is my brother. My brother put up 100 gigs in 1 month.
Big shout out to Sean Brown.
That wasn't Sean. It was actually my brother Chris that did that. My brother Chris
Oh,
is the
big
one that.
shout out to Chris Brown.
Yeah, he did 100 gigs in a month. But see, the thing is because he uses Netflix and stuff and whatever. So because of that, he's using it as his. They say you can use it for whatever. So as long as he's not
His
tethering his
phone
other
is
device.
obviously rooted, and he's running it as a mobile hotspot in
Actually,
your local
actually,
Starbucks.
actually, he's not. To be honest with you, he downloads a lot of content. So that's what it is. That's how it is, man.
All right, well, let's go ahead and wrap the show up. I just want to go ahead and give a reminder that episode 7 might be delayed until June 27th. That actually June 29th. That Sunday. So we have tentative on the schedule 22 Jump Street. Do not shoot us if we do not review that next week. And I do not know what comes on the week after the
Oh yeah,
14th.
it comes out on the third. It comes out on the 13th. The
It
week
comes out
after.
on the 13th.
Yeah, the week after is what movie is that? The movie that we're not going to talk about. That guy who gives relationship advice that doesn't need to be doing it.
Oh, okay, yeah,
That
definitely. So, yeah.
Yeah, we might skip that one. If unless both of us get told that we have to go,
Oh,
then we'll
hell
do
no.
it.
I will look. If I get told to go watch that, I will boycott it by not reviewing it, okay?
Okay, all right, that's fine. I mean, and I'm cool with that. I'm pretty sure I'll wind up going though, because I've already been said like, hey, let's go. I'm like, all right, fine. She's gonna see Transformers, so I'm cool with it.
So okay, tentative on the 15th, definite on the 29th, and hell no to the 22nd. I hope I got my Sundays correct. I'm doing the math in my head.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
have it
you're, you
written
know, you're
down.
right. Yep, 15, 22nd, and 29th. That's right. Yes, sir.
All right. So everybody, listen to Richard Howe as he tells you how you can find him on this World Wide Web.
You can find me on gplus.2/Optimus124, facebook.com/Optimus124.
And of course, you can always find me right there at www.flickr.com/photos/the mind of cube. As soon as I get off the show here, I got 2 albums I'm going to upload to the Flickr account, so stay tuned for that. You
Okay.
can catch me on Facebook. And if I get another invite to play Candy Crush, I promise you, I
Man,
will
yeah.
hunt you down and I will choke the life from you. I don't play that. Stop asking.
Wow,
You can
man.
also find me on Google at The Mind of Cube. I'm sorry, not at The Mind of Cube, but if you search The Mind of Cube, I pop up. And on Twitter at The Mind of Cube. That's where I was trying to go with that. But anyways, I kind of messed that up. So there's always next week, huh? All right. As always, nice talking with you, Richard. And I will see you hopefully next Sunday. Until then, stay classy.